Hello everyone. Today what we're going to do is we're going to try and give you a little bit of information on how to overseed your lawn properly. You know, it's not uncommon to have some sort of turf injury occur during a year. This year we had some issues with chinch bug. You could have issues some years with drought injury or dryness, grub damage, and in every case when you have injury to the turf, it may require for you some sort of repair. The simplest and probably least expensive method to repairing turf is to overseed. Now, overseeding has another important purpose too. By adding new seed to the existing swards of grass that you have the opportunity to make sure that your grass stays vigorous and healthy and thick, which of course means that you'll likely have less weeds in the long run. So bear with us a little bit. We're going to try and give you some tips on how to do this properly, and also a little bit of discussion about grass seed.
Now, what about grass seed? Why are there so many kinds? What do I need to know in order to get that done right? Well, the nice thing is it's not as complicated as it looks. Essentially, you first of all have to determine what kind of sunlight you might have, because almost certainly grass seeds will be blended for more shady conditions or more sunny conditions. Most grass seeds today that you find will be a blend. That means they'll have several different types of grass seed in the bag. And that's a good thing, because some grasses will germinate quickly, will come up, and they'll act as a nurse grass for some of the grasses that have yet to come. Other grasses, grass seed blends that you'll find, will be enhanced with certain things for a particular purpose. So for example, in the case of the Sunstart over here on the far left, you'll see that the product has been enhanced with endophytic grasses, which means that endophytes are types of fungal structures that adhere and work in conjunction with the root system of the grass to help enhance moisture uptake and also helps to inhibit some pests. The other thing that you want to look at is how long it's going to take to germinate, because certain grasses will take longer to germinate than others. Kentucky bluegrass can take as much as a month. Others, like fescues and ryegrasses, might come up in a couple of weeks. This bag here, you can see that this particular seed blend has got 40% Kentucky bluegrass, 40% creeping red fescue, and 20% cutter perennial ryegrass. Well, now the bluegrass is going to take the longest to germinate, but it has the most wear tolerance and generally does best in sunny conditions. The red fescue and the perennial ryegrasses, well, they come up quicker, and they'll help to hold the soil in place until the bluegrass has had a chance to germinate. In an area of shade, for example, you may find that the seed mix will have predominantly more fescue than it does bluegrass or rye. And that's okay, because in fact fescues generally do better where there's shade.
You should know that the optimum time to spread grass seed generally occurs in late spring, late April till about the early part of May, or in the fall from about the third week of August through till about the last week of September. That's really the best time when the ground is sufficiently warm to cause grass seed to germinate, and there's usually enough ambient moisture present that germination is quite successful.
First step of the process is to rake out the thatch to make sure that we try to get as much of the dead grass removed as we possibly can. Now the next step is to make sure we have some soil that we're going to work into the existing grass, such that we have a place for those new grass seeds to establish into. Now there's lots of different soils that you can use. You can use straight topsoil if you wish, but we prefer to use a bag soil, and there's with one big reason, especially if you're doing smaller areas. And the primary reason why you want to use a bag soil is that largely bag soils are sterile and weed free, so that you don't have to worry that whatever you're germinating into there is going to come up with weeds. So we dump a little bit of soil in an area, and then we spread it out through the existing grass, and we want to make sure that we're actually going to see that existing grass that you have there coming up through that soil. So you're not putting it down ordinarily that thick, you're just making sure that most of the area is covered, the bare spots are covered with soil, and you'll notice you have existing grass now showing up through that soil. Now, the bigger the spots that you have, obviously the deeper the soil is going to necessarily be, but you'll notice the soil that you're putting down gets spread quite a distance, so even a small bag will find that will cover a considerable amount of the lawn area that needs to be patched. And now we take our grass seed and we liberally apply it into the place where we've got the soil now spread. And you can't really put on too much. So you can spread it by hand very simply, or if you have a large area to do, you can use a spreader. But basically, when you're done, you're going to have something that looks a bit like this. And now the last trick is just to lightly tumble that grass seed with the soil you've already spread. And you take your leaf rake and you turn it upside down, and all you have to do is sort of brush that together like so. So that you're working up the grass seed and covering it lightly with the soil that you've already spread. And that's basically all there is to top dressing a lawn. You'll notice that while it's a little bit brown, it certainly isn't by no means covered with dirt. You haven't buried a lot of the existing grass down too terribly much. And the grass seed now has the appropriate amount of soil cover so that it can germinate effectively and quickly fill in. Also, we want to make sure that after we've got everything nicely done, we want to moisten the grass seed. We're going to moisten the area well so it's good and damp. And that's quite critical because it'll take that soil to be moist like this for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, dependent upon the type of soil that's been used and the type of grass seed that's been put in there. And that has to be present for it to germinate effectively. Another thing worth noting is how far this grass seed will cover. Now on this package here it says for new lawn, that is where there is no existing grass, this bag will cover about 300 square feet. But in the case of overseeding, which is what we've been demonstrating, you'll notice that it goes considerably farther. This 1 kilogram bag will actually cover almost 1,000 square feet. So the question that has to be asked is, well, if I buy that much of it, is that a good thing? It is and it isn't. Generally speaking, grass seed is one of those products that tends to deteriorate very quickly. And you'll often find that the longer you have it, the poorer the germination will be. So usually you try to buy only that which you need, and you use all of it or as much of it as possible up. So putting it on a little thicker isn't necessarily going to hurt, simply because the longer you keep that grass seed, the less fresh it's going to be, and the poorer your germination is going to be as a result of that.
And that's just some of the techniques and tips that we thought that you might want to know in terms of getting your lawn overseeded. Thank you very much for watching, and good luck with your grass.